Right, what is up YouTube? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today is leg day again. I'm filming pretty much the same session. It won't be the last leg day that I posted, it'll be the one before. It's a great session, so I thought I might as well film it because some of you, I don't know who even watches this channel, but whoever does might want to see me train again, because it's basically just the same shit, just rinse and repeat, but do it better each week. So what is on the cards? The exact same session basically, starting out with machine preacher curls. I'm gonna try and make them better than I did last week, so better control. I mean, they were pretty controlled last week in all fairness, but yeah, more weight hopefully, more reps, and just connect better with my biceps. Then after that, moving on to the adductor. Last week got 35 with it, with the stack, well, with the stack and like one of those little add-on things. So I'll try and get upwards of 36, 37 today and keep the execution spot on as I do. And then next up we have stiff legs, which is the big one. Last week got 156 for 5, but the fifth rep was a bit, you know, not ideal, bit too much hitching on there. So today I could either go for 156, go for 5 again and just tighten up that last rep, or could bump up to like 150. I think I feel good. Like I had a good night's sleep last night, well fueled going into the session, well hydrated. There's nothing that could be stopping me. I'd always train hard regardless, even if the circumstances haven't necessarily been in my favour. But do I send it? Do I not? Do I just send like 160 and just see what happens? It's tempting, you know. But part of me saying I should be patient, just get this 156.5 nailed spot on, and then go for more. That's what my gut is saying, so I'm probably gonna go with that. But you never know, the warm-ups might absolutely fly, so I might just go. I'll see how it is. But I'm feeling great regardless, so it'll be a great set no matter what option I choose. Then with the back off, it'll be the same sort of thing. Trying to get this 7 with 142 again, but with tighter form. Just make sure I'm not hitching on that last rep. I might take a bit of a different approach, because I find what I tend to do with like my stiff legs, and because I noticed I do this with RDLs, and last session I did, so not the one that I've just posted, but the one before this, my other leg day, which won't be on the channel, so you won't see necessarily. But instead of, because I've previously been in a bad habit of overextending my lockouts on, let's say like RDLs for example, when I don't really need to. Like, as long as you basically like lock your hips, you don't need to like overextend your lower back in a sense, which I think is what I do / have done on stiff legs, and especially with dumbbell RDLs. So by avoiding doing that, which is what I did on my last leg session, yeah, I'm getting all these muddled up, but yeah, with my last lower A session with dumbbell RDLs on, I basically just didn't overextend the lockout, and it felt way better. Like, it felt like there was constant tension on my glutes and hams. I got like an extra rep out, the form was better, there was less lower back grounding, there was less like hitching. It was just a better set. So that's what I'm gonna be trying to do with stiff legs today. So if the top set with that approach, if the top set goes like way better, the back off might be able to go up as well. So we'll just see. But after that, it's just the usual shit. Seated ham curl, I'll make sure that the setting is on the correct number. And then next after that, it is the gym local hip press. So I'll be going up in weight again on that one. I'm chasing down the 4 plates, which I'd like to hit before I start dieting again, which to be confirmed when that will be. But yeah, I'd like a top set of maybe, well, yeah, back off of 4 plates where all the load is on the top peg, and then the top set will probably just be shy of 4 plates when that is the case. But yeah, after that it's then onto the pendulum. Yep, pendulum squat. I'd like to get that up again today. Last week it went up, but the last reps were just sort of like, I was losing my brace a bit, which shouldn't really be happening, so I'll try and tighten that up today. Then glute drive, then calves, and then abs. So yeah, it should be a fantastic session. I'm just going picking up my mate now, and I'll probably just catch you in the gym, unless my mate wants to make a feature on the channel. Right, standard stuff, starting out with the single arm preacher curl, as I usually do. Whole focus is to just keep that elbow on the pad,
and drag that wrist up towards my shoulder, get the full contraction. Definitely felt like I was executing this a lot more controlled than I was last week, which is good. I got the same amount of reps on my top set, on my second set and my third set as I did last week. But given that I was able to execute the movement better than I did last week, I will take it, because sometimes just doing the exercise better, even if you get the same weight and reps, especially with more of an isolation one like this, small muscle group, that's still a win, really. Because when it comes to doing small exercises like bicep curls or lateral raises, for example, you're not adding weight every week. If you are, your form is probably slipping a little bit without you realising. I know I've been guilty of that in the past. You've got to think, if you were going up in dumbbells from like the 14s to the 16s to the 18s to the 20s, if you were doing that every single week, before you know it, you'd be bicep curling the 60 kilo dumbbells, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually do with good form. But anyways, the most important thing is to train hard. So let's have a look at the speed of this last rep. See how many seconds this is. So yeah, just watch that back. That was 21 seconds on the last rep of a bicep curl. And that's me applying the same amount of force as I was on the first rep, when it took maybe 2 seconds to do. So that is what training hard looks like. If the first rep is moving at the same speed as the last rep, you have more reps in the tank. Then, same as usual, starting out with the adductor. If you don't do an adductor on any of your leg days, you're definitely leaving leg gains on the table, because even though your adductors get somewhat worked when you're doing like squats or leg presses, it's nowhere near as much as when you actually isolate them with the adductor machine. And plus, when you start with this machine, it's a very good exercise just to get your hips kind of warm before you're moving into any sort of other leg quad or hamstring compound movement, such as stiff leg deadlifts, which I do, or leg press, whatever the case is.
I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me over the very loud music, which is great because obviously you want the vibe when you're training, but I am about to attempt my last warm-up before stiff legs, before the top set of stiff legs. So I'm only going to do 1 rep, that's all I need. I'm already warm, I've done 2 more sets already. But yeah, let's get it. I did 157.5, so a little bit over last week. Reason being, that last warm-up moved really well, so might as well send it. Right, got 4.75 I'd say. In terms of that lockout, obviously the camera quality's not very good. I just watched the setback. Wasn't the best angle, but it was like a 95% lockout. So, like I said, I was trying not to over-exaggerate the lockout, but it could be I'm going to try and make that better for this back. See how it goes.
So yeah, as you can see during the set, as it goes on, I did make the lockout a little bit better, and this set definitely moved a lot smoother than the first set did, obviously because it is low weight, it's like just over 15 kilos less, but still pretty happy with how these went. Similarly, if you're someone who doesn't do any sort of like bent over hinge work, like whether that is a stiff leg deadlift, whether it's a barbell row, whether it's a normal deadlift, you're definitely missing out on training your erectors, which is just another word for your lower back. And that is a muscle that if you can develop it, you're going to get that thickness that just runs from like the very bottom of your back up to like your mid back, which a lot of people don't have. And it does just give your back that different sort of look to it. It just makes it look thicker. You just look kind of strong. And I know, for example, when I did my first show, my back did stand out quite a bit because you could see my erector development from doing stiff leg deadlifts and RDLs and bent over rows, all those different exercises that just train those, which I do think helped contribute to the judges giving me the nod for the win on that one for sure. But yeah, back to the training. We have now got seated hamstring curls, and on this I've now sorted out the position of the back pad, because previously I've had it set too far back, which has meant that my knee hasn't been lined up with the pivot point how I want it to be. So basically more tension is now being placed on my hamstrings when I do this exercise, which is exactly what I want because I want to grow my hamstrings. So yeah, definitely make sure your setup on each of these exercises is exactly how you want it to be. Definitely take time to do that before you do start any sets. Say for example, you're getting on a chest press after someone else's and they've got the seat set on whatever height. If that's not the height that you normally have it set on, and the height that aligns everything up in terms of your own biomechanics, you're not going to get as much out of that exercise as you would do, and it's also going to likely affect how strong you are on it, because if you have the seat 2 notches down, that's probably going to place more tension through your shoulders as opposed to your chest, and you might be weaker, it might just feel wrong. If you have it set up really differently, it can even lead to injury, so it's definitely something you want to pay attention to. Little things like that can definitely make the difference in terms of getting the most out of your training, and it genuinely takes about 3 seconds before you start your set to check that the seat is in the right position, and whatever other adjustable parts of that machine, whether it's like the back pad or the foot pad, depending on the exercise and the machine that you are doing. If you do find that you tend to forget what setting you have it on, for example, whether it's like the seat height, make a little note of it when you have it set up perfectly. Say you do a set and everything feels amazing, like you're really connecting with the given muscle that you're trying to train. Have a look on what setting you had the back pad on, what setting you had the seat on, and make a note in the notice app of your phone of the number that you had the back pad on, the number you had the heel pad on, whatever the moving parts is of that machine, just so that next time you can easily just check, right, I had it on X number, then you can set it up exactly how you had it the next time you do it. Moving on to the seated hip press by Jim Lecco. It's probably the best one I've ever used this. There is a hammer strength one, which is it's pretty good. Like it's not a bad machine by any means. There's no really bad machines in this gym, to be fair. But I do prefer this one. I find with the hammer strength one, it does make it very, very hard at the lockout. Although you can get a bit more depth on it. That's because on that you can adjust the seat. But this one just feels so much smoother. I much prefer it. But yeah, in terms of my performance on this, on the top set, I went up a 2.5 each side on the top loading peg. And I wanted to get 8, but I got 7. However, I did drop my foot position on this by like nearly 2 inches, I think. So I'm getting way more depth out of it, way more knee flexion, and as a result, way more quad tension, which is what I want. So as a result, that is still a progression in my eyes. Then on the back off set, I went up a 1.25 each side on the top peg, and I matched 8 reps, which is the same as I did last week, but with a little bit less weight last week. And I also dropped my foot position about 2 inches so I can get more depth, more knee flexion, and more quad tension out of this, which felt great. Like I would have thought that my knees might be starting to feel this a little bit, but they felt absolutely spot on, so no complaints there. A big thing on getting the most out of a leg press, which a lot of people who are new to the gym or sort of like new to training legs don't necessarily know, is learning how to keep your core tight and braced throughout the full movement. A lot of people tend to just get on here and they'll sort of just bend their legs and go to push it up. They don't necessarily think of what they're doing with their hands, what they're doing with their core. They don't necessarily focus on the breathing too much. These are all things that you really do want to be paying attention to if you want to get the most out of this movement. To really nail your bracing, what you want to think is, as you are allowing your knees to bend and you're allowing the weight to travel towards your body, take a huge breath in, and you want to keep that core tight. Imagine someone is trying to punch you in the stomach as you do the movement. Also, just hold on to the handles and kind of pull yourself into the seat a little bit, and also sort of push yourself back against that back pad a little bit, just so that you are fully like wedged into the seat and your body cannot move out of place. This will allow you to start the concentric phase with as much stability and as much power as you can, basically. It'll also allow you to be more controlled throughout that concentric phase, so you're less likely to get injured, which is not what we want. It'll also allow you to lift more weight and get more reps, which is definitely what we do want. And the same thing applies to any sort of squat movement that you're doing, whether that's like this pendulum that I'm doing here. You really want to focus on just keeping your core tight and keeping your back pressed against that back pad. And as a result of doing that, you'll be stronger, you'll be more controlled, and you'll just perform better as a whole. Same thing also applies to other exercises, like for example, when you're doing a chest supported back exercise, you want to sort of pull yourself into the chest support, or when you're doing like a pressing movement, you want to push your upper back against the bench to really try and brace against it. Once it does sort of click and you just figure out how to brace, you'll notice your training just improve tenfold. But it's definitely not something that you just pick up straight away. It does take a lot of practice and does just take time in the gym. If you are new to training, you're probably not going to really get this for a good year at least. And even as you do become more advanced with your training, you can always still improve it and make it better. My bracing is definitely a lot better than it was last year, and my bracing last year was definitely a lot better than it was the year before that, and I'm sure my bracing next year will be, hopefully, it will be a lot better than it is right now, even though I am in a very good groove in my training at the moment. You can always improve. I can definitely always improve. But yeah, after this, I did 2 sets of glute drive because I usually only do one, but I did a second one because it felt good. So I did another one. Why not? My glutes have been recovering pretty well session to session, so I don't see why I couldn't throw in an extra set if I felt like it. And then after this, I just finished off with calves and abs. So yeah, I'll stick some music on over these next couple of clips, and then I'll catch you in the car on the way back.
In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, 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 won't you let the light shine through.
Right, what is up YouTube? The lighting here is absolutely abysmal, but I have just wrapped up lower B. Session was actually really good. The clip's going to be an absolute state because I started filming it as if I was going to film it for YouTube, but it didn't really go how I the angles were just sort of played up there, and then I wanted to post some of them to Instagram, some of the clips, so kind of just filmed them all like portraits. So the video is going to be a bit not as like YouTube friendly per se. sounds like it's going to be like dodgy or something. No, it's just not going to lay out on the screen exactly how I wanted it to. But oh well, still you're going to see the footage regardless. So, but yeah, I wanted some clips to post to Instagram. And when you edit the pictures, not the pictures, sorry, the videos, unless someone knows how to do this, please drop it in the comments if you do. I can't get the landscape to look like the portrait, if that makes any sense. No, that doesn't make any sense what I'm on about. I can't get like a video that was recorded in landscape to look normal back on portrait, even with like playing around with the aspect ratio and stuff. Just doesn't seem to want to work. In terms of how the session went, I mean, I've covered a bit of it in the voiceover, but pretty good. Biceps. The second set, if I've counted it right, I dropped a rep, but I sort of paused it in control. Was a little bit slow with the eccentric. So next week I could probably almost not go as slow with the eccentric and just really try and ramp the reps up. But yeah, it felt good regardless, and it was an absolute, like, you saw about the fucking speed of that last rep on the right hand. The right hand of the second set. The second set with the right arm. I can't speak today. But yeah, the speed on that was ridiculously slow, which means obviously it was a grinder basically. So good sets on there. So the speed one. Adductor was, I think I dropped a few reps on that, but I kind of paused it pretty well and like kept it really slow. But when you're doing that high reps on like the adductor or something, it's kind of, some sets will progress by like 2 or 3 reps. Sometimes they just won't, or they'll regress even, and it'll sort of just yo-yo around like that. But as long as like over time it's trending upwards, the reps, doesn't really matter too much. But then after that, started stiff legs, and I took a bit of a different approach. Like, I sort of get in a habit of just over exaggerating my lockouts, which I don't need to do. So I've kind of tried to not do that this session, and it felt quite nice. I think for the top set, I probably needed to try and lock out a bit more than I did. But with the back off, it seemed sound, and I went up a rep, and it felt better. Like, my form looked better than it did last week. Last rep was still a bit of a hitcher, but it was, you know, it went decent. So yeah, then seated ham curl, because I've switched around my positioning a bit. The top set didn't get as many reps as I wanted. I got like a set 4, which you should never really go that low on seated ham. But if you start a set, don't just stop it because you think you're going to get less reps than normal. Like, still take that to failure. That was set 4 to failure. Doesn't mean it's a bad set, it just means it's a little bit lower rep range than I would have ideally liked, but still a good set. Then the second set I did more of a higher rep. I think I got 10.5 on that, so upper rep from last week, which is splendid. Then Jingleco hip press, up in weight on the top set. I think I went up by 5 kilos and was down a rep, so I'll take that. I also trialed out having my feet a little bit lower on the foot pad, just try and get a bit more knee flexion, which felt great. So that is going to be standardized from now. Same with the back off, kept feet a little bit lower. I think I upped the weight by 2.5 kilos and matched reps. So yeah, very, very happy with that. Pendulum top set, I think I had the same weight on and matched reps, but it went a bit better than last week. Like, it was paused and controlled better, so happy with that. And then the second set of the pendulum, I was up like, I think last week I sort of last week I tried having my feet very low on the foot pad and kind of just lost my bracing a bit, so I got like 5, whereas this time I got the same weight but I got like 7, so up 2 reps, so happy with that. Then the booty builder glute drive, you know, because we need to build the booty, of course. Up a little bit of weight, I added the 0.5 kilo plates onto there and matched reps, and then I did a second set on this, which I normally only do 1 set, but I felt pretty good, so took a second set because if I can recover from it, then why not do an extra set? And I took 10 kilos to the side off, so 20 kilo drop, and I think I matched reps, but I trialed out having my upper back a little bit lower on the platform, so like the pad for the upper back rests a bit closer towards my traps as opposed to closer towards like my mid back. Just trying it out a little bit, see how it feels, and yeah, it made it harder for sure, but felt good in my glutes, so I'll probably find like a middle ground in between the way I've been doing it, have it like that. And then finished off with calves and abs. Not really much to report on those, they just felt good. So yeah, good session. There's not really much else to say. I've not really thought of a topic to discuss on this one, so just enjoy some good training clips, and remember to train hard when you next train legs. Yeah, like, subscribe.